Welcome, Wargamers, to the blood feud-soaked plains of the mortal realms. Today we are talking about Vandus Hammerhand and Corus Cole in Dawnbringer Part 6, Hounds of Chaos, and Part 4 of its coverage here on the channel. Now, last time in our story regarding the events happening in Akshi, we were a little distracted, right? We followed the exploits of some Dark Oath tribes and how they arrived at the epicenter of the Skaven Vermindoom. But what I want to do in this video is redirect to another part of Akshi that we had talked about before, the fate of Vandus Hammerhand. And we're going to follow that story to the same point narratively and then continue after with the Skaven Vermindoom. I think that's a great way to bring all the events to a head, and we have everybody kind of where they are when the chapter turns to the next series in Age of Sigmar. So, if we remember, Vandus was originally supposed to go fortify Emberguard, but he protested. He's like, no, you don't want me to do that. You guys want me to go intercept Corus Cole. Against Vedra's better judgment, the council agrees, and they say, okay, we won't send you to Emberguard. I tell you what, we'll send another Hammer of Sigmar hero. We're going to send Gavriel Sureheart and his regiments to Emberguard. Vandus, you take Vedra and go intercept Cole. And while Vandus and Vedra do meet up with a Khorn army, it is being led by a slaughterpriest. They defeat the army coming at them, and as the slaughterpriest is being interrogated right before he dies, Vandus has a vision. And if you know this, Vandus Hammerhand has been plagued by visions every time he gets reforged more and more. There's some latent psychic power in him, but anyway, this vision is of a golden warrior holding a broken sword, standing before a massive demonic figure with two axes and a city that's on fire, which sounds like a death metal album cover if I've ever heard of one. So let's talk about what this all means and meet back up with our story from yesterday. One thing I would like to add right up top, if you're interested in any Warhammer merch, please consider using the affiliate link in my link tree down below. Games Workshop has taken a chance on content creators like me and started an affiliate program. So if you want to show them how much my content and community means to you, please consider using that link to shop. Every time you do, it throws a tip in my tip jar that directly supports me, my wife, our cats, the channel, and I could not be more thankful for each and every one of you. And a big thank you to Games Workshop for trying something new. Now, this chapter of our story opens up on my boy Corus Cole himself. And he's standing on a cliff, looking down at a battle happening before him and just kind of lost in thought, and I love the insight into his mind that we get as he's kind of ruminating. Corus Cole was there in the beginning. He was about to claim his reward and become a demon prince in the first AOS story, and Vandus interrupted and ruined that ritual. Since then, Vandus has been a source of shame for Corus Cole, a thorn in his side constantly, the challenge he could not overcome. Even when he followed the orders of Archaon and went to the Orb Infernia during the Realmgate Wars, he was thwarted again. And he, as a character, has been rather silent for a few years. And this is because Khorn has been silent to Cole. He's out here killing, murdering, but no offerings or supplications seem to matter. He's not hearing from his deity. Until one day, out of the blue, the Red God speaks. He wants the head of a Lord Celestant. Boom. First time you hear the voice of God in a lot of years, and you're given one mission, that becomes your whole world. Corus Cole was leading that huge Khorn army that we talked about before, the one that Vandus was like, I need to go intercept Cole. But upon receiving this divine message, he kind of decided to have a new fondness for murder. It reinvigorated him, right? Reminded him why he loves doing what he does. And so Cole took his personal guard and they went off on their own adventure. Basically, he delegated starting the siege to the slaughterpriest who was headed towards Hammerhand. Corus Cole is going to take a side force. We're going to go check out this new place called Emberguard, and we'll circle back. We'll meet back up with you, and then when the siege is ready, then we'll all attack together. Which makes sense. It's probably takes a long time to set up the siege and get things going. And along his travels, sure enough, Corus Cole and his warband meet up with Gavriel Sureheart and his forces headed towards Emberguard. This is the fight that we started our scene with him kind of ruminating over. Cole sends in his Bloodbound for the attack, And in the background, while this is kind of happening, Vandus is just getting back from his assault. He realizes he was baited out in the wrong direction, and that Gavriel and his men are most likely in the path of destruction. So he uses the Hammerhand Sky Bridge, which, think of it as like an arcane catapult, it just kind of throws you around the immediate area, and it launches Vandus and his men towards Gavriel, like emergency reinforcements. They had no time to rest, resupply. It's a ragged reinforcement army sent to help overwhelmed friends. Vandus arrives and immediately starts bellowing challenges to Corus Cole. Right, he sees him up on that cliff where we first met Khorgus thinking real hard, and Vandus is like, I'm gonna rip you limb from limb, you have no honor, you're not good enough for the blood god because you never could beat me. He's like throwing everything at him. And this scene is awesome, and I really did appreciate it because we get a glimpse of what the Ruination Chamber might be like. Because the closer he is to Corus Cole, Vandus gets more and more just undone. Right, he just starts losing his mind. He's not doing like the full tactical advance and trying to be, the best tactician or leader or military mind. He's just going savage. He arrives just in time to see Corus Cole rush Gavriel, smash his sword in half, and take his head with the reality-splitting axe. In fact, the body is sucked into an eternity beyond, and Gavriel's head falls to the ground. And this whole time, Corus Cole is yelling taunts back at Vandus. And he's like, your kids were more fun to kill than you were, buddy. Which is just like, that's just not the thing to say to Vandus. I don't know, man. And so a couple things all converge here in this scene. Gavriel Sureheart permadies. No more Tommy Wiseau models. Vandus Hammerhand mentally snaps. He hits his knees, and the reason is because now, because of his short-sightedness of wanting to intercept Khul and not do what he was asked to do, he got like 8 times as many people killed. Right, he threw this whole contingent out to the wind. He divided their forces up. It was just an absolute mess. And the third and final thing that happens is my boy Corus Cole finally ascends to demonhood. His form lifts off the ground, his muscles grow, he sprouts wings from his back. He becomes an absolute megalithic form, a monster of Vandus's visions wreathed in fire and rage. And in this moment, where Vandus is on his knees looking at this new unstoppable enemy, when Vandus can't fathom how the world could get any worse than this, they get exceedingly worse than that. Corus Cole's ascension coincides with another event. In the background of this entire affair, the adamantine chain mountain range, which has been overlooking all of these things, detonates. At the heart of this, the machinations of the Skaven have reached critical mass as their bells reach the 13th toll and our stories converge in the Vermindoom. What were the Skaven doing? What is this all about? We get our answers in a bit of dialogue that I left out in our last video with Screech Vermin King, who is by far one of the best characters in terms of dialogue. He speaks with a plurality because he's like 13 Skaven souls merged into one. It's really cool. And he basically lays out the whole plan for Gunnar Brand. This plot was approved by the Everchosen. That part was not a lie. The lie was that the Dark Oath tribes were to be involved. They were used, no questions about it. But the plan of the Skaven was to create a singular, epic gnawhole of such scale and magnitude that it threatened to rip Akshi apart. This entire campaign series, the Skaven have been watching. I should say this entire time in AOS, because it's multiple campaign series that this eclipses. They've seen the Silver Towers fall and detonate a bunch of realm gates, or Be'lakor use realm gates to create the rift in the sky that necessitated the need for the new Stormcast armor. How thin the veils of reality can be when those two things happen together. You see, the Skaven tricked the Dark Oath into poisoning their own lands with warpstone at geomagnetic sites, and rigging realm gates to blow all over the place. And when the 13th bell struck, it all went off at once, and pointed specifically at one place in the realm of chaos. Like, all of these destruction things were calculated to bring a specific point into the mortal realms, that is, Skaven Blight City. With this explosion, the mountain range was leveled. As mind-blowing towers, splinters in reality were raised up, and the Skaven, long an underground presence, take their stage as the main player of the mortal realms. And this is where the book ends. Now let's stop here and talk about why is this cool. Well, I mean, Embergard still stands as far as we know. That city wasn't destroyed. In fact, the whole promotional thing they did about one city will stand, one will fall, it seemed like they were talking about Phoenicium. I was like, okay, so Embergard's still there. Vandus is alive. Maybe. We don't know if he gets away from Corus Cole. It felt like this particular one had a lot of great threads, but very little resolution to it. But let's tackle it in two parts here. First off, we're going to start with the fight with Corus Cole. I adore the idea of ending this iteration of the AOS rules with the original duel between two awesome dudes. And this was an interesting book because it did a great job of clarifying what the last century has done to them specifically. Corus Cole was defeated, but he stayed diligent. And when the opportunity came, he was not distracted by personal vendettas. He went for Gabriel Sureheart because he was told to get a Lord Celestin's head, not Vandus's. In game terms, friends, Corus Cole knows how to play for the objective points. Conversely, Vandus lost his mind and is now making decisions at the highest level while going insane. He's even seeing visions of quote-unquote the Lightning Man, which I guess is like the Slender Man for Stormcast Eternals as they go crazy, I don't know. And given a similar momentous task of, defeating your ultimate enemy, Vandus let his petty vendetta distract him, and it got a lot of people killed. He didn't reinforce the cities, he wanted Khul. And I am so excited for Corus Cole to be released as a Demon Prince model. I hope they do. I don't know. I hope they take the time, whenever they do the battle tomes for Khorne in the new edition, give us a Corus Cole Demon Prince, please. He sounds like Angeron from 40k. Now, as for the fate of the realms themselves, well, this is certainly a marker of Chaos Ascendant. Skaven are clearly the main threat in this edition. And we know Archaon approved of the plan. So what's his play in all of this? I don't quite know, but I am excited to learn more as the edition unfolds. I'm pretty sure, like all of these, main boxes, there's going to be a novel that comes out in support of it. I'm dying to read that because what I feel like we need is more eyes on the ground. Not just of the explosion in Akshi like we got in the preview video, but if chaos is rising everywhere, tell me about the perspective of someone in another realm. Right, that was the great thing about the other big cataclysms, is we see how everyone is affected. This book specifically did not tell us how everyone was affected. There was a community article that came out later that said Skaven are going everywhere now, which is a big resurgence. But this book specifically made it seem very localized to Akshi. And while the teaser that we have going into this next edition is that a mountain range was destroyed and Skaven Blight City itself rose to the mortal realms, the stories that creates remain to be seen. And how Archaon uses this to his advantage is something I am highly interested to learn. Now that, friends, is the conclusion of the Dawnbringer Crusade. I want to end this video by saying I am going to do another video that's sort of like a post-mortem, because as I'm reading this, I'm realizing there is a very strong and compelling story here that I feel like the team didn't quite land. This was a very rough ending. For spending 5 books talking about these Crusades, the final book in the series has nothing to do with either of the Crusades, really. So what I'd like to do is take a whack at redoing some of the story with the same product releases and everything, and presenting it to you guys in a different way. I hope you're interested in hearing about that, but this is the complete story as it is officially written, and we are going to be circling back to these events, I'm sure, in great magnitude as we try to wrestle with what the Skaven have done to the setting, how it affects everybody in every realm, and what the future of Age of Sigmar looks like. I would love to hear your thoughts on the campaign series. What did you like? What didn't you like? What are your favorite models and releases? Without question, mine is the Super Pig for the Iron Jaws. I feel like that model is the undisputed winner of the campaign book, but I understand and am willing to listen to other arguments. Actually, I just realized that Ushuran came out in this release, and I just made my own question very difficult. Anyway, tell me your thoughts in the comments down below, and I would love to catch you there. Thank you so much for watching and listening, and happy wargaming, friends.